Now that the place is full, I'm going to bring up a fellow who we were talking, and actually he and I never played together in the glory years because he's so much older than I am, that he was gone. He graduated barely as I got here. But then, as so many of us do, he kind of drifted back at the time when I drifted back, and we ended up doing a couple of concerts together. And now we're doing another one together. John Bachman.
Jawohl. Okay, this is a song about the sinking of a ship. Well, it was midnight on the sea, band playing near my God to thee. Fare thee Titanic, fare thee well. It was midnight on the sea, band playing near my God to thee. Fare thee Titanic, fare thee well. Well, the year was 1912. Jack Johnson was a heavyweight champion of the world at that time. After beating up all the fighters in the United States, he decided to go over to Europe and see what kind of boxers they had over there. Now, Jack Johnson was a great big black man. They wrote a play about him, The Great White Hope, because he beat that Great White Hope. But he was afraid of one thing, and that was swimming with sharks. So he thought, if I'm going over to Europe, I got to go on the world's greatest ship. This is the days before airplanes now. I'm going to go on the Titanic, the ship that can't sink, the engineering marvel of the age. So he sent on down to the steamship office, got him a ticket on the Titanic, packed his bags, went on up to the dock, walked up the gangplank. He looked up at the captain. The captain looked down at Jack Johnson, and he says, "I'm sorry, boy, but we don't haul no coal." Jack Johnson tried to get on board, but they told the man they don't haul no coal. Fare thee Titanic, fare thee well. Jack Johnson tried to get on board, but they told the man they don't haul no coal. Fare thee Titanic, fare thee well. Well, Jack Johnson had to step aside, let all the lily white folk run up the gangplank. White sailors, white porters, white underwear, white women, white porters. Titanic got its load, the captain hollered all aboard. Jack Johnson stood on the pier, watching the good ship roll out to sea. When Titanic got its load, and the captain hollered all aboard. Fare thee Titanic, fare thee well. Titanic got its load, and the captain hollered all aboard. Fare thee Titanic, fare thee well. Let's let it get out to sea. Well, now it was midnight on the sea. People were laughing and singing and drinking. Almost nobody was paying any attention on which way the ship was going. Least of all the captain, who was below decks doing things we shouldn't talk about. So the captain had his wife up there in the wheelhouse running the ship. And she was messing around, and the first mate ran in and says, Mrs. Captain, I think I see some whitewater ahead." He said, "Whitewater? There's no whitewater up there. I don't want to hear about no whitewater. I don't want to talk about no whitewater. There ain't no whitewater, so just forget it. So get out of here, boy." She chased him out of the wheelhouse, down the dock. And of course, she was right. There was no whitewater. But she wasn't paying attention, and even though it wasn't white water, the Titanic come around the curve and run into a great big iceberg and started sinking. Whoa, the Titanic come around the curve when it run into that big iceberg. It was white ice. Fare thee Titanic, fare thee well. Titanic come around the curve when it run into that big iceberg. Fare thee Titanic, fare thee well. Well, there was only about 17 and a half lifeboats on that ship because it couldn't sink. What do you need lifeboats for? That was before regulatory agencies like OSHA and EPA. And so what happened is they had to figure out who was going to get on the lifeboats. And for once, sexism worked definitely in the favor of women, and women and children got to get on the lifeboat. And the men stood on the deck with the band singing "Nearer My God to Thee." and they were. There was lifeboats all around, save the women, children, let men go down. Fare the Titanic, fare thee well. There was lifeboats all around, save the women, children, and O'Malley Brown. Fare the Titanic, fare thee well. Well, the next day, Jack Johnson was walking down the street and he looked up at the paper. He couldn't quite read the title. He looked at the paper boy nickel, pulled it down. Great big headlines. It says, "The Titanic is sunk." He ran back home and said, "Mom, give me my dancing shoes. I'm going down to the dance hall and do the Eagle Rock." Because Jack Johnson was so glad he didn't get on board. When he heard that mighty shock, he might have seen the man do the Eagle Rock. Fare the Titanic, fare thee well. When he heard that mighty shock, might have seen the man do the Eagle Rock. Fare the Titanic, fare thee well. Now in 1918, Leadbelly, also known as Hetty Ledbetter, he wrote this song, wrote a letter to his publisher, Moses Ash. Says, "Moses, you know where I wrote the song about the sinking of a ship to be a happy song? When that ship went down, Jack Johnson and no other black people were on board. It was midnight on the sea, band playing there, my God, to thee. Fare the Titanic, fare thee well." It was midnight on the sea, band playing there, my God, to thee. Fare the Titanic, fare thee well. Jack Johnson. Thank you.